What's going on, guys? Quinn69 here. How are you guys doing today? As you can see, I'm going to be bringing you guys a guide on the Uliana's monk. This is going to be a greater rift pushing guides for basically solo and groups, and we're going to show you what I think is the strongest core build you can run for Season 4. This is going to be a seasonal only build due to the fact that we get a new weapon called the Lion's Claw in Season 4, and it literally doubles your damage output. And without it, Uliana's set is basically it's pretty mediocre. But the Season 4 fist weapon takes it from mediocre and puts it into the top tier of we're right at the top there. So anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to show you guys the gameplay first. We're going to show you guys basically how to play it, and then we'll go from there to like the specific skills and the gear we use, etc. So let's start with the set. How do you use it? Basically, the gameplay strategy is you get in there, and you'll see that I'm in here. I mean, there's loads of EPs everywhere, but you'll notice whenever I engage a new pack, I'll run in and I'll punch 3 times. EPs will go up. I'll 7-sided strike. That's basically how the set works. Run in, hit 3 times, 7-sided strike, gets all your EPs spread. Basically, when you hit 7-sided strike, it'll set off all your exploding palms, and then your Gundo gears will proc off those exploding palms, and it'll instantly spread to the entire screen. So it's pretty crazy as far as AoE damage goes. This whole build is an AoE damage kind of build. Then you'll notice whenever I aggro monsters, I'm kind of running around. You don't want to just engage a pack and then just stop. What you want to do is you want to engage like a group of monsters, kind of run past the initial few monsters, get in there, kind of grab the guys from all around the sides, pull them all together, and then hopefully a Templar, because he'll be using an S of Johann, the necklace, he'll hopefully pull everything in, and then you're gonna kind of blow up that density. So that the biggest part of Uliana's that a lot of people are probably gonna not utilize. It's like rounding the mobs up. It's like a strategy where you're gonna run in, kind of overextend a little bit, aggro all the stuff in the area, pull it all together, and then start blowing it up. You want to be using 7-sided strike on cooldown. It's the only way you do damage. The only thing that deals damage from the monk is the 7-sided strike. Generator literally, it has utilities and buffs. We'll go over that in a bit. But the only thing that you need to worry about is hitting 7-sided strike on cooldown every time it's up. Any downtime on 7-sided strike is basically a lost DPS. On top of that, you're going to need to keep your focus up the entire time. So your focus and restraint rings you're wearing. To do that, you've got to spend, so that's 7-sided strike, and you've got to basically generate, which is your way of the 100 fists. So you at least have to attack with your generator every 5 seconds, just one punch to proc your focus. On top of that, your generator also has a buff, because you're going to be using the rune assimilation. You'll see there, I've got 3 stacks right now. On the 3rd hit, every enemy you hit with assimilation will give you 5% increased damage, and that stacks to infinite amounts. I've had beyond 40 stacks of assimilation. If you get like crazy density, and 40 stacks of assimilation, that's a lot of damage. Assimilation scales crazy in the God Rifts, and which makes Uliana's monk, really kind of good. The fact that you scale with the amount of density there is, you just get better. On top of the fact that you're like a completely AoE based build. The rest of your abilities are basically defensive. So you're going to be seeing whenever I'm fighting, depending on the danger levels, obviously, I'll be using dash generally on cooldown to get the dodge buff. And you're going to see I'm going to be also using the mantra. Like whenever there's danger, I'll be using dodge from the dash and the mantra active to basically keep myself alive the entire time. Also, you're going to be using dash for mobility. This is the conduit pylon. This is how it's going live by the looks of it, guys. This pylon that I have, it's pretty strong. You'll see whenever you have a conduit pylon, you want to just kind of look for blue packs. Blue packs are what you're looking for. Yellow packs, not so much. Just run into density with that bad boy, and it's going to be you're crazy. You'll see how much time I make here. I don't think I kill this yellow. But that's pointless anyway. And then also we have Desert Shroud. Desert Shroud is insanely important. Desert Shroud, so Epiphany, Desert Shroud, that's another defensive cooldown. You want to be using that on cooldown all the time. The second it's up, just hit Desert Shroud straight away all the time. Due to the fact that it gives you Spirit Gen, so it's, you know, it's generating your spirit, so you can basically mash your mantra as much as you want, and you also get the 50% damage reduction, which is huge. Without that damage reduction, you're kind of squishy. Another thing to note is your character's quite fragile until you use 7-sided strike. Because we're using the Binding of the Lost, it's a new 7-sided strike belt. I will be going over that in a bit. You initially might want to even 7-sided strike just to get the defensive buff up, even before going to use your generator, if you're in a really high Greater Rift. And then also, you're using Spirit Guards, the braces, so sometimes you might even want to just walk in and literally 7-sided strike, and then instantly come out of the 7-sided strike with a punch just to get those buffs up, and then spam your Desert Shroud, or like pop your Desert Shroud prior to walking into the pack. But really, the set, once you've kind of got the basics down, maintaining your dashing strike buff, maintaining your mantra buff, using 7-sided strike on cooldown, keeping your Desert Shroud up, keeping your focus up, keeping, you know, trying to maintain the assimilation stacks as much as possible. It's more about tactics and gameplay. It's more about how you play it, what you skip, you know, what you fight, and how you round the mobs up. And obviously there's a lot of micro involved, due to the fact that Blizzard didn't like monks basically being immortal, so they made it impossible for us to maintain 100% uptime 7-sided strike. The cooldown does not start until the animation ends now, so it's literally impossible to get 7-sided strike 100% uptime, and you're going to have that downtime where you have to survive. And during that downtime, you'll see whenever I'm fighting, I'm just going to be dashing for the buff, and also you're going to dash for like into a certain position that's safe, and then kind of just punching for healing and punching for assimilation. It gets pretty sketchy. But anyway, guys, I'll post the rest of the gameplay at the end of the video if you guys want to watch the rest of this rift. But I'm going to go into town now, and we'll show you guys the gear and everything and how it works. Alright guys, so let's go over the gear first, and then we'll go into the skills. So your weapons are going to be the Fist of Az-Tariq. The reason we use this is so you can see the secondary effect. Exploding Palms on death explosion damage is increased by 97% up to a total of 100%. This literally doubles your damage output. It is mandatory. It's a multiplier as well because you're multiplying the base of the skill. It's amazing. Getting the most important thing on a Fist of Az is the Exploding Palm damage rolls. You're going to be looking for 100% Fist for the maximum damage output. As far as our other weapon goes, we're using Lion's Claw. So your 7-sided strike performs an additional 7 strikes. So, you know, we have a 7-sided strike, you make it into a 14-sided strike. It's literally doubling the damage output, because the way that Uliana's works is your 7-sided strike detonates your Exploding Palm. So you're getting twice the amount of Exploding Palms, and this is obviously multiplying your damage by 2 again. And it's multiplying the skill. It's not just adding on to some other multiplier. So you're getting a pure, you know, double damage output. As far as our other weapon in the cube goes, we have the Flow of Eternity. Reduces the cooldown of 7-sided strike by 60%. Obviously, the 7-sided strike is the only thing that does damage, and we're modifying the skill. So this is, again, multiplying your damage output. But it's actually more than doubling your damage. It's more than doubling your damage. This bad boy in the cube is crazy strong. The synergy of these 3 weapons, it's like doubles your damage again, and then doubles your damage the 3rd time, and they're all on separate multipliers, so you can imagine it's pretty crazy. As far as the rest of the slots go, you're going to be using Uliana's boots. You're going to want Exploding Palm on the boots. That's the main thing. Uliana's pants. Uliana's chest. Note, I'm not using 7-sided strike damage on the chest, as 7-sided strike damage in my opinion, is not worth it. It's a very small single target damage increase, but as far as the Rift Clear goes, 7-sided strike damage makes up the tiniest percentage of your damage, and in my opinion, it's just not worth getting. We're going to be using Uliana shoulders. Again, I'm not using 7-sided strike damage. I've opted for area damage instead. I would go for that definitely as well. Uliana's gloves. You're probably kind of skitzing out a little bit here as to why I don't have crit on my gloves. We'll go over that in a second. Then we are using Uliana's helmet. Again, you want exploding palm damage on your helmet, as this is, you know, the majority of your damage. The complete majority of your damage is exploding palm, so you need exploding palm on head. Just remember that, guys. So that's the full Uliana set. We are, and you'll know, oh, the other thing to notice about the helmet is there's no crit as well. We're going to go over that in like 1 second here. We're using Gundo gears for the braces. No crit again. Noted. Cold damage, because we're using the cold rune and exploding palm. And the Binding of the Lost. This is a new belt that they're adding in. It's going to be on non-season as well, but you know, Uliana's non-season's not that great. Each hit with 7-sided strike grants 3.2% damage reduction. Obviously, this belt is way better with you know, the Lion's Claw. It literally, the belt's effect is doubled by the Lion's Claw, and it does so basically it gives you almost 50% damage reduction if you have a perfect 3.5% belt, which I do not. You're using restraint and focus as your rings, because you're able to maintain both buffs quite easily throughout the entire rift. Obviously, whenever you hit with a resource generating attack, you get 50% increased damage, and whenever you hit with a resource spending, resource spending attack, you deal 50% more damage, and they multiply with each other. So it's a really huge component of your damage. You'll notice that I'm stacking cooldown reduction on every single piece of gear that is possible. This is important for the Uliana's monk to work, because your entire DPS rotation is based off a cooldown. Obviously, cooldown directly converts into damage. So you know, you have 8% cooldown on your gloves. That's 8% damage. Just think of it like that. As far as necklaces go, I'm using a Hellfire Amulet. I would suggest, basically, your necklace slot is free. Hellfire Amulet is a really good defensive choice and a really good offensive choice. You can either, you know, pick up extra offensive talent, or you can pick up an extra defensive talent. As well as the fact is that you could use, you know, any other amulet out there, you know, that has a special effect. If you have like a favorite amulet, like Eye of Elich, you know, range damage reduction, that would be equal to any of the monk defensive talents. So if you had a really good Eye of Elich, you could definitely consider using that. If you had like a really good, you know, Star of Escaranth, immune to fire, or like a Mara's amulet, immune to poison, whatever, they're all pretty good. I'm probably going to be using a Hellfire Amulet next season, that's Season 4, due to the fact that Hellfire Amulets are going to be easy to craft due to the changes that Blizzard have made. But that is all the gear I'm using. I'll quickly go over the other two pieces of my cube. I've got Spirit Guards in the cube, so you know, whenever you attack with a resource generating attack, you get 40% you know, reduction. That's a multiplier as well, so it's really crazy. And then we're using Broken Promises. So you know how I was talking about, I'm going to show you guys what's up. So here you go, look at my damage. It says 500k. You guys are probably like, what is this guy on? He's going to do no damage with 500k damage here. The reason it's 500k damage is because I've literally dropped all of my critical hit chance off my gear. This is essential to the build. You cannot use any items that have crit hit chance. So you cannot have crit chance on your rings, you cannot have crit chance on your helmet, on your gloves, on your necklace, on your braces, because crit chance is bad. Due to the fact that Broken Promises scales like this. After 5 consecutive non-critical hits, your chance to critically hit is increased by 100% for 3 seconds. And this has a really high uptime in the Greater Rifts with this particular set. So what you're trying to do is avoid crit like the plague, because if you get any crit, it severely reduces the uptime on this ring. And also, you know, just to quickly go over it while I'm here, Make sure you don't hit. A lot of people forget about their Paragon points. You literally avoid, like I have 53 points. You literally avoid crit like the plague. You do not get any crit, because the less crit you have, the more damage you get. Obviously, my damage is 500k, but when it procs, it goes to like 5 million. So it's kind of misleading as far as that goes. As far as legendary gems go, we are using a Bane of the Stricken. So this is the new seasonal gem. So this is Season 4 build, Season 4 gem, easy as. Each attack you make against an enemy increases the damage it takes by your attacks by 1.54%. And that stacks to infinity. It just goes infinitely. It does have a short internal cooldown, so when you're doing an AoE attack, it'll only debuff one mob at a time. The internal cooldown is believed to be around 1/3 of a second. So when you're during one 7-sided strike animation, you're gonna get only a few procs of the gem. But the main reason we use it is to kill Rift Guardians, or if there's a straggler left over. This makes your Rift Guardian kill. Like it takes it from like a 5-minute kill to like a 1-minute 30 kill sort of thing. It's insane. You'll notice if you watch the rest of this video, I'll post the the Rift Guardian kill on the end of the Rift, and you guys can see how this gem actually works, and you'll see how fast it makes the Rift Guardian die towards the end. Like the last 50% of the Rift Guardian kill is like 3 times as quick as the first 50% due to the fact that it stacks infinitely. And you also get 25% increased damage against Rift Guardians and bosses. We're using Gogoka Swiftness as the other gem. That's mainly for the 15% cooldown reduction, because 15% cooldown reduction is 15% damage. On top of that, it's also, it's your cooldown in your Desert Shroud, it's the cooldown in your dash, which is, 2 huge survivability skills. Also, the 15% attack speed means you get a little bit more, you can get your spirit generators going faster, and, it gives you a little bit more healing and everything. Your final gem is Bane of the Trapped. Bane of the Trapped is just really broken. It multiplies your damage by 37% at 75, which is relatively rank 75 gem next season is going to be. I mean, it's not going to be easy to obtain, but it's going to be a lot easier than back in the day. So it's literally just multiplying your damage output. If you guys don't know, the secondary effect, so gain an aura that reduces movement speed of enemies by 30% within 15 yards. That procs the gem, so that's what's procking it. You don't need to have a slow skill on your bars or anything. Bane of the Trap procs itself. It's totally a self-sufficient gem. It's really, really powerful. So now let's go over the skills. We're using 7-sided strike, sustained attack. The main reason, I mean, this is the only choice. There is literally no other choices. You might think, oh, but why don't we use the cold rune, because we're using cold damage. Okay, remember, the damage you put out is completely based off how fast you can 7-sided strike, and this rune here literally more than halves the cooldown of 7-sided strike, so more than doubling the damage output of your build. So there's literally no other choices as far as 7-sided strike goes. This one is the best, hands down. Just don't try it, boys. Don't do it. As far as your mantra goes, we're using Mantra of Salvation Agility. This is purely for survival. If you want to modify this build a little bit, say you're just going to do some quick T10 runs with some friends, you can change this to Mantra of Conviction, Annihilation easily enough. Or say you're playing with another monk, and he's already got Mantra of Salvation Agility on, you can easily go Mantra of Healing, Time of Need, or Sustenance. They're both really good runes if you're running 2 monks. So, you might be doing that in a 4-man, so all you do is just change it. But if you're playing solo, Mantra of Salvation, Agility, the best. We're using Dashing Strike, Blinding Speed. The main reason is because you can maintain that buff, gain 40% increased dodge chance for 4 seconds after using Dashing Strike. Obviously, you know how I was doing it in the Rift before. You 7-sided strike, straight away dash, activate Mantra, and you literally maintain that 40% dodge. The entire time you are on the ground, you have an extra 40% dodge, which is really, really, really powerful. We're using Epiphany Desert Shroud purely for the damage reduction. That's a multiplier, so it's it scales really well with everything else, and just reduces all damage done by taken by 50%, and that's up the majority of the time. I think you get like 95% uptime of that bad boy, because you're already stacking cooldown reduction, so you can spam 7-sided strike more. We're using Way of the 100 Fists simulation. Each enemy hit with the third hit increases your damage by 5% for 5 seconds, and that stacks to infinity. Just the only limiting factor is how many enemies you can hit. Obviously, that means it's going to scale better with mobs with smaller hitboxes, just like all your other AoE abilities. And it does, you'll notice if you're playing with like a support, they can pull everything to one spot, and they can actually make the hitboxes kind of mesh into each other. If it's like a barbarian with a claw, or if it's like a sweep crusader, you can actually get like, you know, stack. I've had more. I think the best stack I've ever had was like 66, and that was playing a rift with a sweep crusader. And yeah, you can imagine 66 stacks of 5% damage makes your mark. It's just like a power pylon. It's like having a power pylon, and you can maintain that the entire time. That's part of your rotation. You know, part of your rotation, like I said, you know, your 7-sided striking, your dashing, your mantra, and then you've got easily enough time to get the 1, 2, 3 combo in to get your simulation up, and you're going to be trying to hit the density for the biggest damage boost. We're using Exploding Palm and Impending Doom. It's literally double the damage of every other rune. It's pretty mandatory. It forces you into cold. So it does 6,000% damage instead of 2,700%. So it's really powerful rune. And the only reason it's on your bars, you're never actually going to use it. You're never actually going to activate, you know, Exploding Palm. It's purely there just to tell your Uliana set. So the 2 set of Ulianas, every third hit from your Spirit Generators applies Exploding Palm. It's purely there to tell you the Uliana set, okay, you're going to put up cold EP whenever you generate. Simply put. As far as Paragon points, we've already kind of spoiled that a little bit. You're going to want to cap your movement speed. As you can see, my boots have no movement speed on them, so I've maxed my movement speed to max. But if I had movement speed, say I had boots with 10% movement speed on them, I would just go to boom, because you can't get more than 25% movement speed, guys. You'd only put 15 into here, and then you just go the rest into main stat. That's simple as that. But I have 25. I don't have any movement speed on my boots, so capping movement speed, going full dexterity. Maximum spirit is not required. Obviously, this is really important because we're using Broken Promises. You do not want crit chance, so you avoid picking crit chance. You're going to want to go cooldown reduction, crit damage, and then attack speed as far as the priority goes. For defense, you want to go Aura Resist, armor, then life regeneration. Purely because the build suffers recovery. The only way you regenerate life is from you know, life per second rolls on your gear. So it's really nice to have that before life, and then life percent. As far as your utility tab goes, you want to go area damage, then a life on hit, then resource cost reduction, and then gold fine, obviously, because it's just pointless. When it comes to skills, there's 2 that are mandatory. That is Harmony. So Harmony, the best defensive talent in the game. And Beacon of Yita, 20% cooldown reduction. The cooldown reduction, you know, is 20% damage, and on top of that, you also get the added bonuses of having that extra survivability. The rest are up to you. In my opinion, the end game monks are all going to end up using defensive talents while stacking area damage on their gear. Instead of picking up offensive talents and then picking up defensive stats on the gear, because area damage will straight out outweigh, you know, the offensive talents. So this is what I'm going to be running. 6 cents, so 25% non-physical reduction, near-death experience as well for the cheat death. And then also, I actually already have Harmony on my Hellfire Amulet, so I have an extra passive Harmony. So that means I can actually grab another one, and if I could get any passive I want, then I'm going to go Guardian's Path there. If you want to be more offensive, or say you're easily surviving and you're doing like some lower content, obviously then you're going to switch to like Momentum or Determination. These 2 will have really good uptime in the Rift. If you're playing in a group, you can also use Unity over the damage. Like, that's the best group buff, because the entire group gets 5% damage, and then you also get 20% damage as long as you're within range of the group with mantras. But yeah, otherwise I'm going to be going fully defensive talents. Obviously the Guardian's Path has a lot of synergy with all the dodge that we're using. If you have this on, you can see my dodge chance here, 57%, and when I dash I'm at 74%, and you pop Desert Shroud, activate Mantra, punch, you know, toughness quickly gets up really, really high. But that pretty much sums it up as far as the guide goes. I'm going to show you guys the rest of the footage now, so if you guys want to, you know, see the rest of the Rift and you want to see how Bane of the Stricken works on Rift Guardians, you guys can feel free to stay and watch that. Otherwise, boys, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the guide. There's going to be a written one below if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, you can follow. You can also, if you like these guides, you like the content, remember you can come check the stream out. That's my live stream on Twitch, and you can check out what's going on there. Because if there ever is any changes to the builds, I will be doing it on Twitch first, and then you'll kind of like, I'll make a YouTube video once there's been enough change that it justifies actually making a guide, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Otherwise, peace the hell out, have a good day. I flip and love you guys.